between the lower tier 13-inch MacBook Pro, which starts at, I believe, $12.99, and the way higher priced $19.99 MacBook Pro 13-inch, which is for that matter, the 16-inch model as well. The biggest thing to keep in mind is what you are getting. So, besides performance and display and audio and all that jazz, which we'll get to in this video, it's important to know physically what the difference is between the lower end 13-inch MacBook Pro and the higher end models of MacBook Pro. Though in the higher tier model, as you can see here, this model has a more squared off, I don't want to say boxy, but like it's a squared off design. It also has regular connections, as I'm going to show you right now. Of course, you get your MagSafe returns, which I'll talk about later on. You get two USB-C Thunderbolt ports. You get a headphone jack, which now supports a higher impedance, meaning better audio quality. And on this side, which you will carefully turn around without hitting the wall, hopefully, or the camera. But you also get an SD card slot now on this side, as well as another USB-C Thunderbolt, and the return of the HDMI slot. Who would have thought we would have saw the return of HDMI on MacBook Pro? Imagine that. Very much appreciated, Apple. Thank you for that. So, overall, you're getting the return of a few handy hits, which Apple should have really never taken away from these MacBook Pros. You still don't get the return of Type A USB, so if you're still somebody, which I know there's plenty of people out there who still use Type A USBs in their daily setups, unfortunately you'll still have to use dongles for that, but at least they gave us some connections there on these MacBook Pros. So I guess that goes back to the saying that something is better than nothing. So that is a look at the physical changes of this new MacBook Pro. Oh, also, before I forget, the MacBook Pro logo is now engraved on the bottom instead of on the bezel of the display. And that is a little look at the physical changes of these redesigned MacBook Pros. These redesigned MacBook Pros also saw the return of a beloved feature, and that is, of course, MagSafe. Now, this new generation of MagSafe is a little bit thinner, but it is entirely the same in terms of functionality. If anything, it actually maybe features a little bit stronger magnetic pull than it used to. Because I'll tell you, it takes a little bit of, like, at least for me, maybe it's just my hands, but you have to kind of almost grip onto the laptop a little bit to pull it out. It definitely has a strong grip. But I am so glad to see Apple bring this back. It's little things like this that I don't think Apple should have ever got rid of, because this makes Apple uniquely Mac. It makes these computers uniquely Apple, I should say. Not to say that no other company can replicate this kind of thing. Yes, I know Microsoft Surface devices have something similar to this, that they're charging connections, but this is still uniquely Apple. MagSafe is definitely Apple. And it's not only that, it is such a great feature to have, so that if you're, whatever the case may be, you're not going to accidentally knock it off the table, and it pulls out instead of knocking the entire laptop over. So it just goes like this, and it simply just kind of goes in like so. And I'll show you a quick demo of what I was talking about earlier. And it's not like impossible to do with one hand, but it definitely is. You do have to use some grab onto the laptop first and then do it. And it's in there pretty good though. I will say that. It definitely is in there pretty tight. And then it just kind of goes like that here. And I've always just had a fondness for MagSafe, so I couldn't do a video without showing that too. So that's nice. It's great, just as you'd expect. And I hope that Apple brings that to lower tier MacBooks in 2022, because it's something that really should be on all Macs, not just the top of the line computers. Not very often that Apple gets praised for taking something away, but that's exactly what they did in these redesigned MacBook Pros. As you can clearly see, there is no longer a Touch Bar. Thank you, Apple gods. Now, this is what Apple kind of does in recent years, especially after the death of Steve Jobs. They make these goofy, boneheaded decisions, and then they take like 1 or 2 generations to finally correct it. And this is a classic example of that. I don't even know why Apple ever thought the Touch Bar was a good idea. I really couldn't tell you guys. But thankfully, in these redesigned MacBook Pros, they took it out and they gave us back a fully functional row of keys. Imagine that one. Now, on behalf of every single professional in the world who will spend good money on these computers, thank you, Apple. Now, the thing is, I think I kind of understand why Apple went that direction with the Touch Bar when they did. Because I think they were trying to add a little band-aid to the fact that Macs don't have touchscreens. And so somebody at Apple probably thought it would be a cool little design aesthetic to add a little OLED touch bar to the keyboard, and they just went with it. The problem with that concept was they had to take away something that so many people, not just professionals, but anyone appreciates, which is a standard row of extra function keys. It's important, and they just didn't realize it, I guess. But the good news is that after a while, they finally have corrected it with these redesigned MacBook Pros. You do get now a nice, sleek, black painted finish to the keyboard, which I have to assume is Apple's way of just kind of adding that futuristic or new generation design scheme to make it look different, and also to kind of take away from the fact that they no longer have the touch bar. So all in all, I really like this new keyboard. In terms of feel, it's the exact same, in my opinion, as the 2020 MacBook Pros. The keys have that scissor switch mechanism. It's not the butterfly keys that sucked a few years ago. Now it's still the good keys, as you want to call them, that are really fantastic. They're comfortable, great tactile feedback. All in all, excellent keyboards, as you would expect from Apple now. And again, the touch bar removal is a solid decision on Apple's behalf. Now, the defining feature of these new MacBook Pros is the Liquid Retina XDR display. It is just absolutely stunning. There is nothing else on the market like these displays, and it shows you how great Apple can be. And that's never to say that Apple is perfect, but it shows you that Apple can make a piece of hardware that can be damn near close to perfect. So this Liquid Retina XDR display features a resolution of 3024 by 1964, and that totals out to 254 pixels per inch. It features a mini LED display, which is not OLED, but it has a lot of the same benefits of OLED, but without the screen learning potential risk of that. It's mini LED. It also features full motion, which is a variable refresh rate of up to 120 Hz. So you are getting a top-notch, stunning display, regardless of what size of these two new MacBook Pros that you get. Now, again, as I'll probably say in this video a couple times, it is, to me, I still argue that this size, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, is where it's at, because you get almost the exact same benefits as the 16-inch. that you get in a compact form factor. And I have to tell you guys, this screen is technically a 13.2 inch display. Again, that's 13.2. But it feels like a 15-inch display. I don't know if it's just how Apple, it's just how it looks to my eyes, because of the fact that they just kind of changed the shape of it, but I sincerely feel like it feels very close to a 15-inch display instead of something that's smaller. So for me, I really would advise most people who, regardless of income level or how much your budget is that you want to spend on this computer, I would strongly advise people to at least give the smaller MacBook Pro a strong look and think about it, because you get the same package almost, but just a slightly smaller display. But it is fantastic and do that. Now, another thing to note here too is that the brightness goes up to 1600 nits peak brightness when you're watching HDR content. So if you shoot an HDR video, this is so cool. You can actually go into, I'm not going to do it right now, but you can go into your, let's say you send a friend or you receive something from a friend that's an HDR video inside of iMessage. You can open that video up right here on your Mac, and the rest of the screen gets dimmer, and the HDR video that you're looking at will get super bright. And it's so cool to see that in action. That's just one little small detail that Apple gets so right. And that's what Apple does best. It's those little fine details like that. Okay, so with that being said, let me go ahead and show you a very quick example of this.
And I feel sorry for
this is the mule with Clint Eastwood.
Oh, I don't know what's wrong with him now. This dog has to...
Again, I don't know. I think you guys can tell by the camera alone that you have to see it in person. It is just fantastic. By the way, if you haven't seen this movie, definitely watch it. It's a fantastic film with Clint Eastwood. It came out a few years ago now. I think it was 2018. Then again, I'm just a fan of Clint Eastwood in general. Okay, so that gives you a little idea of the brightness that this continues to get with these, when you're watching HDR content. It's fantastic. Okay, so that's a little example of that. And I would like to give you guys an example of the audio quality while I'm thinking of it. So let's go ahead and do that real quick too. And keep in mind, guys, this is not even full volume. Really nice sound to it. Oop, I can turn it down, turn it up. Okay. That gives you guys a little demo of the audio quality. It's absolutely fantastic. The bass is just right. It gets very loud, but not just loud, but the audio quality does not degrade as the volume increases. And you get that really rich bass and just room-filling audio. It reminds me exactly like what you got in the late 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is strangely now considered to be, I guess, almost obsolete because it's not an M1 device, but it reminds me a lot of that. They basically took that awesome audio system and packed it into these new MacBook Pros and made further enhancements to it. It's really fantastic. Okay, so that gives you guys an idea of the display quality and the audio quality on this new MacBook Pro. Doing these videos here on YouTube, is going to have to elaborate that much deeply into how great these N1 Pros, N1 Max, whatever model of these new MacBook Pros you end up going with. It doesn't take a lot of elaborating because Apple has clearly demonstrated just how amazing these systems are. I mean, Apple's custom silicon is something that is making Intel shake in their boots. Let's put it that way. Now, I was impressed with my 13-inch MacBook Pro N1, as well as my N1 Mac Mini that I owned and used extensively. So this 13-inch MacBook Pro has just further impressed me. It just takes it to another impressive level. That's the easiest way I can say it. Any task I throw at it, video editing, gaming, whatever I'm doing, there's absolutely no slouch. And everyone else is going to say the same thing because it just is. It's just one of those things that's just a confirmed solid fact. I see no reason to go too far deep into the numbers and nitty gritty of it, but I will do this. I think it is important to go through the defense scores. So it gets a 1725 single core score and a 9315 multi-core score. So if you go down to the single core comparisons, it kind of just gives you a visual idea of these charts, which is why I love doing this, because it shows you very simply the comparisons in both single core and multi-core. So you can see it really, the single core comparison, it easily, you know, it usually details everything, I should say, but really, it's somewhat comparable to like the N1 Mac Mini in late 2020. Again, this is a single core comparison. Um, and then it just kind of goes, it drops down from there. Obviously, as the systems get older, you're going to see lower performance from single core. And then multi-core performance, you're going to see the same thing. Obviously, very, very impressive, 9315. And then as it goes from there, like the 27-inch Retina iMac from early 2019, that gets at 8236. And then the mid 2020 Retina 27-inch iMac refresh that they had last year, or excuse me, almost 2 years ago now, that's at 8129. And then, of course, it just goes down from there, all the way down. 13-inch, early 2015 MacBook Pro with an Intel Core i5 5257U at 2.7 gigahertz, 2 core. That gets a 1539. Now that's cool. That's interesting to know. You know, it's kind of like useless information, but it's still very cool to know. So it's fun, at least to me, I'm a geek, I guess, but it's fun to go through these numbers and just kind of see how it has progressed in each generation. But needless to say, these new N1 Pro, N1 Max chips are so impressive. It will take your workflow to an entirely more effective, productive level. It cuts down rendering times, export times, and so much. It's amazing, guys. I mean, the thing is, like I said, there's no need to go into the nitty gritty of it because I know that anyone that buys these machines, and you see YouTubers that will be like, be careful what model you buy. And granted, I guess that is true. If you're really doing heavy video work, then you may care more about your performance at the higher end. You may want to go for an N1 Max. I actually strongly advise that. If you do really heavy video editing work inside of Final Cut Pro, Adobe, and you really need that performance is literally everything, and so is storage. You definitely want to do that at the time of purchase. Get the N1 Max. Whether you get the 13 or 16-inch display sizes is up to you. That's a personal preference thing. But definitely, if you need it, do it at the time of purchase. Get the N1 Max if you have to. Get the 1 terabyte of storage or whatever it goes up to. I think it goes way past that. But do what you need to do because because you can't really change it afterwards, is my point. Um, Now, with that all being said, I was actually very comfortable and fine with for the work that I do, with the baseline model that comes with the M1 Pro and 16 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD. But that's just me personally. Everyone will have different needs. And that's the beauty of Apple. Making different options, although it does become insanely expensive as your needs for performance go up. Um, my biggest critique in this, my biggest gripe about these systems are the price, and this kind of ties into performance because if you're talking about performance for $1, if you will. It is very expensive for these machines, even at the baseline level. Even on sale, they really don't go down that much. I mean, if you get lucky and find this on sale for, let's say, $17.99, jump on it because that actually is a fair price for this machine. But not when it's not on sale and you're not taking advantage of any student discounts or something, it is a very expensive device. And in some ways, rightfully so. This is not meant to be, just for anyone consumer device. It's meant to be a professional machine, but at the same time, I still feel, even for Apple standards, it is quite high, quite excessively expensive. And I can only assume that as time goes on, we will see the price either go down or a lot of these higher end features start to slowly trickle down to the lower end MacBooks, as we saw the iPad Pro do with the iPad Air. That's my assumption. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm assuming. I wanted to end the video with talking about the battery life. Now, this battery life, guys, is insane. And I spoke to another good friend of mine who, he and I had been tech buddies for years and years. He followed me on my original tech channel way back in 2008. So, shout out to my good buddy Lee. But anyhow, so this has been something that we discussed a lot. And we both agree that this is just amazing. Like, this is one of the, and this is his biggest nuts loved feature of these new MacBook Pros. For me personally, I still choose the display as being my number one favorite new feature, enhancement, if you will. But a very close second is the battery life because it is unreal. I can go all day, use this machine extensively, not just lightly and moderately, but extensively. Use this machine and still have plenty of battery life left over at the end of the night. And it's incredible. And again, it's all thanks to the custom Apple silicon. It goes to show you how thankful we should all be as consumers that Apple made this jump to their own custom silicon and gave Intel the big FU instead of choosing to keep doing business with Intel and in the process hindering what they can do for their machines. So thank you, Apple. The battery life is phenomenal. This is what a computer should be. I actually said this to my buddy Lee, and he very much agreed with me on this. This is what a computer should be, especially obviously a notebook. It should have an amazing battery life. That's literally the concept of a notebook. Is to use it perfectly without fear of it dying, and being able to use it any way you want without being worried about the battery life. And that is what this notebook does incredibly well. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It really does mean the world to me. I do these videos just as a side hobby, and it just makes my day so much when I see people liking my videos. So if you like my content, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button if you believe I deserve it. I appreciate it so much. Until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions about these new MacBook Pros, please leave them in the comments, and I will happily answer them, and we'll have a discussion. Until next time, guys, peace out for now.